but you're not going to want to miss this next speaker. He's a proud member of the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants. He currently serves as a financial consultant with unconventional strategies to help his customers accomplish their retirement income and wealth accumulation goals. And he does this by helping individuals and business owners leverage the tax code to retire at their desired standard of living, pay less taxes, and use as little as a third of the capital that traditional advisors recommend. And this morning, he's going to be sharing his insights on the 5 key lessons on how he did it. With that, give it up for David Kinder.
Welcome, Nashville. I had a 3-hour speech prepared. I have 30 minutes to serve you, so let's get going. It occurred to me that after I created that 3-hour speech, that you know what, we really got to pare it down, and you know what, probably a story would make a lot more impact than data dumping on you. And if any of you know me, I can data dump and cite my sources better than anybody else I've met. So I figured, okay, we'll do a story. That'll work. So, story time. June 2022. Where's Peter? Peter Nelson's over here. Peter, I met you for the first time in Des Moines, Iowa. And quite frankly, that was the first time I had to fly in quite a while. I hadn't flown since, before 9/11, actually. So first time I've been on a plane to get out there. And I got to let you guys know, I get vertigo. Turbulence and I do not get along. So I already flew into Denver on the way there. Denver is not my favorite airport. And so I'm dreading the ride back. So I'm getting on the plane after our trip, dog and pony show at an insurance company. And I meet Michelle. So I meet Michelle on the flight from Des Moines down to Denver, and I've already doubled up on my medication. I'm like, I do not want to take any chances. I hate getting dizzy. But the shade was closed. One thing I discovered is that if the shade is open, I kind of know where the ground is. I can kind of orientate in my thoughts of where the plane's going. It just works. Don't ask me why. I just did. Michelle, would you mind? I didn't know her name, of course. I said, would you mind if you put the shade up? I know it's bright, but I don't want to get dizzy on the flight. She obliged. No problem. Got off of takeoff. You doing okay? I think I'm okay. Appreciate that. I explained I was going to get dizzy. But you know what? I think a conversation would help me take my mind off of me, which is always a good idea. Get out of your own head. So you ask a good question. Are you coming or going? And she lives in Des Moines and is going out to meet with her then fiance. And, oh, really? What does he do? What brought him out to? And I thought it was the Bay Area, known as Portland, but it's not my job to know where he was. And found out he does a lot of social media stuff. And I was very impressed with what she told me. I don't remember anything she told me. I just remember feeling impressed, thinking, I could probably use someone like that. I don't know what it would take, but I could probably use someone like that. And eventually, said social media, like, well, let me show you what I've been doing. Showed the Facebook group. Thank you all for being members. Over 13,000 members in that Facebook group. A lot of stuff going on, so I got to show off a little bit. Oh, so insurance is what brought you to Des Moines? Yeah, insurance company brought us out, dog and pony show. So you do insurance. Crap. I don't want to be pigeonholed there. I can't believe this came to my mind, and I said, insurance is very much secondary to what I do. I'm like, where did that come from? I never rehearsed that, but that'll work. And at the time, I had a great website I just developed the month before, and I called it socialsecuritymillionaire.com. And I pulled it up on my phone. I said, most people don't necessarily realize that when they retire, that they're going to pay up to, or that they might receive about $1 million worth of Social Security benefit. They've been pretty good earners during their working life, especially in Southern California. But yet, depending on where your retirement wealth is, you might have to pay back up to over $250,000 of that Social Security benefit back in taxes. Have you ever heard that before? No, I've never heard that before. I was like, okay. And in fact, depending on where you live, you might be paid up to 7th in line. 7th, yeah, federal taxes, state taxes, local county and city taxes, taxes on your Social Security as mentioned, Medicare IRMA, income-related monthly adjustment amount, commit that to memory. And that's a success tax. And then the investment management fees to manage the whole thing, and then finally, you. Never heard that before. Never heard that. So I just now, you can't leave someone in the dark. You can't leave them there. This is not a political conversation. We actually have a solution. So I said, well, what I could do is I can help you turn it completely around using the tax code so that you could be the largest beneficiary of your policy, of your life's work, so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. Now, here's what I didn't do. I did not ask, can I follow up on this conversation? Didn't even occur to me. What was my objective? Don't get dizzy. It worked. I didn't get dizzy. But here's what happened. 4 or 5 months later, everybody gets spam emails, right? For a second, I thought I got a spam appointment. I keep my Calendly link at the top of my website. I'm like, who's this Mike Ficani guy? I didn't know who that was. Now, the area code of the phone number was the next county over. It's for Orange County, Irvine to South Orange County. I'm like, I don't remember talking to anybody with that name out there. That's close enough. All right, I'll give him a call. We'll see what happens. But I waited 20 minutes. I can't pounce on that. You give it a little time. So I wait 20 minutes. Ring, ring. Hello, Mike? Mike, this is David Kinder. Okay, hold on a second. Hey, Michelle. It's David's on the line. Hi, David. It's like, hello, who's this? This is Michelle. Do you remember from the plane? I'm like, that's all I needed, right? And we actually confirmed an appointment. We're going to talk about what we talked about. This is 4 or 5 months later. I didn't follow up. They reached out to me. So let me share some things of what happened. If I was going to dissect all of that, let's dissect it. First of all, lead with the problems you solve. Notice I barely escaped the fact, because now we're trying to embrace more of the fact, yes, we do sell insurance, but I don't want to be known by the insurance product. It does not matter until it matters. But people will often judge your product by the value they perceive it to have. I don't want them to judge. What is the general IQ of most Americans about insurance? On a scale of 1 to 10, -5, right? In the general vicinity, they do not understand our product. Why would I let them judge my value? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create that. So you lead with the problems you solve, not the product you sell. Your product is meaningless until the prospect sees and understands that they have a problem. No problem detected? You can't prescribe painkillers to someone who's numb. What's the point? It won't work. This is my own analogy. I really like this. Salt your prospects. No, not assault your prospects. I know some people tend to do that. No, salt your prospects. Financial questions and concepts help to salt them. So here's the saying. You can lead a horse to water, but can't make it drink. Good. This is the audience participation part of the program. But you can salt the horse's oats. Get them to want to drink. Get them to salivate for what you do and what you could do for them. Here's a biblical verse. We're going to bring it to life here. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth tossed out and good for nothing. You all been there, right? We've all been there. So stay salty. Now, here's something that's interesting is that as I've been learning from Tom Love and so many others, I can talk about the same problems at different levels. Let's talk a little bit about that. With Tom, and you just heard him explain it beautifully, tax-exempt retirement cash flow. It is not income, it is not tax-free, it's tax-exempt, nowhere to put on your tax return. I went to my first Tom Love boot camp in December 2019. January 2020, I meet Kelly Smith. And again, in my mind, I've got tax exempt in my mind the entire time. And I asked Kelly, what do you do? I knew he was top of the table. And whenever you know someone that's been a top producer, you're going to ask, what do you do specifically? I give him credit for thinking I would understand the words that would come out of his mouth. It's kind of like, I'm in Southern California, so it's like someone starts to speak in Spanish to me, and I say, thank you for thinking I would understand you. No habla español. I don't understand. But if I was to translate it, he would say he would help businesses using the tax code, using the ERISA code, to help businesses to grow their business tax exempt and sell on a tax exempt basis, legally bypassing capital gains. You can do that on a business level? I need to learn about that. It's taking me a long time. I don't do them. I want to know enough about them to refer business owners to them. Kelly Smith also introduced me to one of the top agents in the world, Dr. Sanjay Talani. I barely know what he does, but he solves multi-tax jurisdictional problems for global citizens, people who have real estate and business interests all over the world. Do I ever meet anybody like that? Probably not. But if I do, I know who to contact. I know how to help solve problems. Kelly also introduced me to someone else. We did a in-depth webinar. It's on my YouTube channel. For 2.5 hours, we talk about ESOPs. I sliced and diced it, and I sent it to him. And Kelly said, would you mind sending that over to my law professor? I'm like, who? All right, maybe it's somebody went to. California has no shortage of law schools. I had no idea who I was going to meet. But Professor Craig Hampton has become another mentor of mine. And here's the story that he is known for. And this was back in 1994 in Offshore Investment Magazine. He's meeting with a gentleman in the Piccadilly district of London who's definitely grown his net worth by substantial means. And his net worth exceeded 100 million by a substantial margin. And he brings the professor in and says, you're a bright young man, he obviously knows his craft. Tell me, what do you know about finance that I don't already know? It's a challenging question, isn't it? He leans forward and makes this simple statement. Through the creative use of international life insurance, you can structure your financial affairs so that you never have to pay an income tax again for the rest of your life. And that was born the Hampton Freeze. These are massive, massive policies. I'm learning from him. Will I ever meet these kinds of people? No. Why am I talking about them? The reason is simple. One, I only need a few talking points to talk about. And that's why I also call myself the tax-exempt wealth guy. It's not one way. There's 4 or more. I'm sure there's other things I don't yet know. But the more important thing to me is this. Once your mind is stretched by an idea, it makes everything else simple. I know why I've seen the policy. It's a $295 million premium. Am I intimidated by a $10,000 annual premium? No. 100,000? 250? A million? I know why people do this at the highest levels. As long as I'm helping them solve their problems, I'll talk more about that in a moment, it's not my problem, and I'm not intimidated by it. This is a fun exercise. I got 3 lessons out of this. Take a look at that graphic. How many circles do you see? Jim, no cheating. Audience participation. How many circles do you see? We have a little bit of time here. Throw out some guesses. How many? 6, 5, 17. There's 22 circles in that diagram. 3, 2, 1. There they are. Now, why is that important? There's 3 lessons in here. The first one is that when you study other top agents and top advisors, when you see the pattern, you'll never unsee it. You'll see exactly how they work. I realized this. I had a conversation with Sanjay Talani for like an hour and a half. It was an hour into it, and I realized all top producers do the same things. It's the same pattern. They have the unique proposition, their own style, but they all follow the same principles. And I see it every time that I've interviewed someone, that Jim has interviewed someone, and I'm seeing the patterns. So the neat thing is that all top producers do the same things. Once you find the pattern, you can't unsee it. Here's the third one. Help your clients find the patterns that are there for them to discover, and you won't lose them because they will seek you out. How do I know? It's already happened. Show them what's there to be seen. It's their problem, though, but show them what's there to be seen. So again, I had a memorable website name and content, so it's socialsecuritymillionaire.com. I no longer have that site. I was told, one, if you want to work a higher net worth market, focusing on Social Security is probably not the best way. It's kind of hard to break out of that. And the second one was that it could be misconstrued as misrepresentation, as those I'm guaranteeing someone will actually get $1 million of Social Security. Like, okay, professor, you win. No problem. I'm a good student. So I have 4 URLs right now. My main one that's actually built up, davidkinderfinancial.com. I got a blog of over 150 articles, which really helps me, challenge me to cement what I know. When Tom talks about that he learns more by teaching than by doing, it's absolutely true. And when you take the challenge on to write, that puts you on the hot seat to make sure that you truly know what you're talking about. So I've got a couple more URLs that have not been built out, but retirementtaxcode.com. I have tax-exempt-tax-deductions.com. And of course, if I'm going to be known as a tax-exempt wealth guy, I better own that one too. The number 2 thing is that you keep their problems. And this is a part of maintaining a neutral expectation. I cannot want the sale more than you want to solve your problem. If my problem is I need a sale, but your problem is that you haven't seen your problem yet, there's a disconnect. My problem cannot become their problem. So how you position your solution in context of the problem is also important and key. So I call this the anti-sale. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever thought of it this way. And since last week when Tom was saying we all want to embrace being salesmen, so I need to recreate this and say the amateur salesperson only touts their benefits. Here's how much better off you're going to be. See, look, the promised land. You're going to be doing great over here. A true advisor is going to talk about the consequences of what the client has previously done and what they'd have to do to make up the difference on your own without my help and without my tools. You're going to turn desire for gain into fear of loss. What would it take for you, the client, to duplicate the results I, the advisor, can deliver, but without me and my tools? That's the true consequence. So I talk about the difference between math and wealth. How much money would you need to have in a tax-exempt strategy compared to a 401k or IRA plan? And we often talk about the Michael Dell story. Based on a CNBC article, we believe that Dell's putting in $14.4 million a year for 10 years, $144 million, might grow to $150. He'll be able to spend $10 million a year with nowhere to put that on his tax return. No 1099 form. What would he have to do in a 401k to do the same thing? About $533 million. But most people can't relate to that. So I like showing, here's the bottom side of that. Here's my parents. I had to do the math on this. Yes, I actually had to do the math. This is why I know this so well, because I had to do the homework. My parents, I helped them retire in 2020. And I showed them how they could reposition $460,000 to spend as low as $1.7 million. But if they kept it to where it was, they'd have to earn 11.5% each and every year for 10 years after fees to equate what I could do for them on an almost guaranteed basis. You can't beat what I do. But here's the key on this. Let them grieve a little bit. They're going to be a little disappointed. I can't get what I want using the methods and everything I've been taught so far. But here's the best part. Can you help me? It's their problem. Your position is their problem, their choice to move forward. So their plan is not going to earn 11.5% a year. I never said life insurance earns that much, but they can spend it as though they did. So here's a third one, your intentions. Oh, I love this one. Your intentions say a lot about you and what it will be like to work with you. Commission breath. We all hate it. We hate it the most because we're the ones that have to live with it more. But having proactive intentions to ensure that your clients will be better off having worked with you than without you. And that you are willing to walk away if you know the situation won't make them better off. That's a true advisor. A lot of the financial media thinks that we're always out to make the sale. And the fact is that if we're going to be true specialists, we have to be willing to walk away when something's not compatible. If we can't make them better off, we shouldn't force a solution that's not going to do it. But I want people to sense my intentions even if I don't say them out loud. So my relationship intention, even if I don't say this, this is what I want people to sense about me. I want to help clients make educated financial decisions that feel right to them, including the option of doing nothing if that's what feels right to them. I help people maximize their situation, minimize mistakes and risks, and I can often help them to find, make, or save thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in a single meeting. Now, that could be prospecting language. And of course, what would be a common objection that comes up? I already have an advisor. No, you don't, but we'll pretend. I will not interfere with your current advisor relationship unless and until you want me to. Make it safe for them to talk to you. But the purpose of questions, you won't believe this. Oh, I'm kind of embarrassed on this one. I used to believe, don't know where I got it from, that the purpose of questions was to manipulate people to make them do what I want them to do. I don't know where I got that from, but how about these training phrases? I've heard this. Get them talking so you can use their answer against them later. Doesn't that sound like win-lose? The client has to lose for me to win. How about this? Whoever talks first loses. Now, there's always the value in silence. You want that tension there to let them have enough time to make a decision. But it's not who talks first loses, it's let them make the decision. Let the silence be there. And of course, I learned from this gentleman over here, people just don't have organized thinking to help them make the educated decisions. That's the purpose. So imagine two agents, Agent A and Agent B. Agent A has a list of questions, but his job, he thinks, is to manipulate people into the sale. Agent B asks the exact same questions, and he says, I want to help you make the best, most informed decisions possible. Who's going to have a better relationship, A or B? Let's try this again. Audience participation. Which one, A or B? B, thank you. If anything, you can ask the same question, you just feel better about working with Agent B. Objection handling. This one is a big one for me because I don't think a lot of people train on this very well. This is my belief. How you deal with objections is a preview of what it will be like to work with you. Imagine you're calling someone up, you'd like to meet with them, and they say, you know what, I'm just too busy. And in being too busy, you say, you know what, I understand, I've got a busy life myself. But if I had a briefcase here on my desk with $100,000, and if you met with me for 90 minutes, you can have the $100,000 after we meet. Would you find the time to meet with me? I mean, that's just being so patronizing. I felt slimy just hearing it. To me, people make the best decisions based on the information priorities they have at the time. So just give them something new to think about. Don't talk down to them. I don't want to patronize anybody. So I don't want to ridicule the objection or the intellect of my prospect. If I may ask, just give them something new to consider. So someone's too busy. I can understand. I've got a very busy personal life myself. But if I may, the people I meet in their 70s wish they met me in their 50s. The people I meet in their 60s wish they met me in their 40s. Would it make sense to just get together for 20 minutes and just see if we should continue a conversation even after that? Something simple, something soft-spoken. And because if you're going to object to them with that, how are they going to feel when you show them when they show you their financials and you say, is this all you got? How would they feel about that? If we want to attract people to work with us, give them a preview of what it'll be like to work with you. Joint work. When I met with Mike and Michelle, we had a great first meeting. And generally, I thought, I'm pretty sure I can handle this, but there's some other business interests that are involved in this. I'm going to bring in somebody. I probably don't need him, but I want to make sure I do the job right. And it's usually a good idea to have multiple eyes on things. So joint work is never a cost or an expense. It's too easy to think that way. It is a collaboration with another who has a complementary skill set to help you both help the client. What's 100% of nothing? Nothing. Better have 50% of something and have a client and have an advocate and show that you're looking out for them. I also happen to love the term of upward delegation. With the joint work I did, and Brian Summerfield is way in the back. You can't see him from here. I can't see him from here, but I know he's here. It was so nice to say, look, you handle the life insurance side, I'll handle the annuity side. We got this. And that's exactly how we did it. Patient persistence. Remember how far back all this started? We started in 2022. A few months later, they reached out, set up an appointment. We had a couple of meetings, and then all of a sudden, it kind of went dark. I'm like, did I do something? I don't think I did anything wrong. The meetings went well. They did a lot of extensive traveling. So all that I did was just send out an email every two to 3 weeks, just saying, hey, I'm looking forward to connecting with you when you're available. Don't know what's going on, but we'll connect when you're ready. But remember, never make your need for a sale their problem. That's your problem, not theirs. And you're there to help them make informed decisions about their problem, but it's still their problem. Now, I also want to go back a little bit because it could have been thought of that this might have been an objection. Because during our meetings, they say, David, we really like these life insurance plans, but I think we want to leave the retirement accounts where they are. We don't really want to touch them. Now, again, professionals never get offended, and I'm not surprised about that. It had been a long time since we last talked about that subject. So what did we do? I asked a couple of questions. So I asked, okay, if I may, Mike, do you still feel that tax rates are going to have to increase over time? Yes. Does it then make sense to continue to leave money where it'll be forever taxed? Or do you think it might make sense to move it to where it'll be never taxed? Oh, yeah. Done. That's all it took. Just had to remind them, but help them make the decision. Rather than, back on March 14th of last year, you said that you understood. No, this is not an interrogation. You just want to make sure that, remind them of the decisions, remind them of the basis of those decisions. So this is Mike and Michelle back on Valentine's Day, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They are here. Stand up. Give them a hand. Talk about an advocate. Remember I mentioned a little bit about that social media stuff that I was, I was very impressed with. I'm like, if that's even halfway true. I introduced Mike. Mike introduced me to Jim. And Jim, I introduced them to Tom. So who do you get to blame for all those 50 to 100 million emails? Me. So how can I serve you? I have a reputation. It's a decent reputation. I don't know how to monetize on any of this, but I have an industry reputation being the Google of insurance or the Wikipedia of insurance. Okay, I'll take that. Don't know how I'm going to use that. So ask me questions. I'm full of knowledge, and if I don't have an answer, I usually have a pretty good opinion. But I might not be the expert you need, but I probably know who is. Thank you.